Test, test, test. Are we live? We are live, everybody. If you're watching this, it's not too late. Thank you for hanging in there. The moment our video guy Justin stops moving the camera, we're going to get started right away. Okay. And let's see if we can get some comments going. Just to show you guys, it's very advanced. The reason why we're taking so long, we got a camera and lights, and we got a laptop over there, computer over there, technician over here. It's a lot of things going on. So we're trying to make it the best quality possible for you guys. So that's why I apologize. It took a little bit longer. Okay, if you are here, if you're watching, if you are live, say hello. And we're going to try to make this session as informative as possible for you guys. So any questions you got, any doubts, anything you want to clear up, anything you're not sure about, I'm going to make sure to cover in this video to make you happy and make you pass your exam. Comments? Any comments? How many people are streaming so far? How many people?
39.
Okay, good. Can you guys tell me which country you are from? If you're watching this, I love to give specific feedback, specific tips, depending which place, which country you're from, what language you speak. And I promise you I'm going to make this interesting in this video. The reason why, one of the things we'll be covering is the speaking section. Now, for the speaking section, a lot of people nowadays are struggling. So I'm going to get into specifics depending which country you're from, what are the things you might be struggling with, and what are the things that you can do to actually fix it. So topic for this live session, how high can we see? Can you see up to here?
Yeah.
Should be able to. Okay, so today I want to talk about two main things. Number one is the speaking section, and number two is the reading section. So we get a lot of students, obviously in Sydney, in Melbourne, all over Australia, but nowadays we're getting a lot of students online. And obviously before they join the courses, typically they send us their scores for assessment, so we can tell them, look, we can help you only in these sections. You don't need to practice anything else, or you need coaching for everything, or you just need a few classes, or you just need some mock tests. So I would say in the last 6 months specifically, a lot of students have been struggling with the reading section the most. And I'm going to get into specifics why they're failing reading and what are some of the things that you can do if you're sitting at home and you're practicing by yourself in order to pass your reading section. And I'm going to explain a few very technical things when it comes to your speaking section, okay? So can you guys let me know in the comments right now, which one of these do you struggle the most with? Either speaking section or the reading section. So can I get a few of you to comment either S for speaking or R for reading? Just so I know which direction to go into and which one you guys would like to start with first. And do we have any, can we get some comments on the screen, Justin? Okay. What section are they struggling with? I think you might need to try to connect to the chat on your phone and then just read it from your phone. Okay, so first of all, let me give you guys a bit of a background. As you know, obviously, speaking section, if you haven't watched our videos, we talk about this quite a bit. Speaking section is the section that gives you the most marks in the whole exam, okay? Speaking is what we call the mother of all modules. So you can check lots of scores online, and maybe you've even given the exam before. And I want you to try to look for one thing, okay? Because you will not see it very often. You will not see people very frequently getting 79 in speaking on the dot and passing their listening and reading. So typically if somebody's getting 79 in speaking on the dot, they will usually also fail either their reading section or they will also fail their listening section as well. The reason why, because speaking gives you a lot of marks towards these two. In fact, almost half of all your marks in the listening section come from speaking section alone. And I'll give you guys an example in a second. And of course, the reading section is getting affected from your speaking whenever you do your read aloud. Okay, so just to give you guys an overview, if you got your score somewhere handy, I'd like you to pull it up and open it on your phone. And I want you to check one thing, okay? So here's how you know if you're failing your reading section in part because of your speaking, okay? And what I want you to look at, and this is gonna get a little bit tricky, what I want you to look at, I want you to look at your pronunciation score. So a lot of people that come to us, they're worried about their pronunciation. They're getting low pronunciation or high pronunciation. They don't know what to do. And I even had one guy, he was Colombian, and he was really struggling with pronunciation. So he texted me one day and he goes, Alex, I won't be coming to class for 2 months' time. I won't be giving any mock tests. And I said, man, what happened? Is everything okay? Is your family okay? And he goes, look, I hired this tutor and I already paid in advance for 20 classes, and she's going to be giving me pronunciation lessons. And I asked him, are you actually genuinely taking this to improve your English? Or are you trying to improve your pronunciation for PT purposes? Or is the tutor just a really good-looking girl and you're just trying to hit on the girl? So he told me, look, I'm worried because the exam I gave before I came to see you guys, my pronunciation score was very low. And I gave him the same answer that I'm going to give you guys. I said, Enrique, look, your pronunciation here is not that important. Your pronunciation in PT is only important in 1 or 2 questions. Now, it's most important when it comes to your read aloud. Most of your pronunciation will come from your read aloud, and the second one is your repeat sentences. Now here it doesn't affect it so much, but read aloud, it affects your pronunciation a lot. Now the reason why, because obviously, let's take describe image for a second, right? And let me give you guys an example. Let's say I put this image in front of you and I said describe this image. Justin. There are a million, Justin. Technical difficulties again, hang in there. So there are a million different ways for people to describe this image, right? Some of you will use a format, some of you guys will just freestyle. Some of you guys will talk about the color, some of you will talk about the shape, some of you guys will talk about the size. So it's very difficult for their system, it's very difficult for their computer to give you a pronunciation score based on your describe image. Now let's take read aloud, for example. Why is it easy in read aloud? Let's say in read aloud, in total, you have 100 words that you have to read. And out of those 100 words, you pronounce, let's say, 80 of them correctly, right? So it's obviously easy for them to compare that out of 100 words, you got 80 words correctly. So your pronunciation, let's say it's 80% accurately, and obviously they will translate this to your overall score. So back to what I was saying earlier, if you open your score report right now, and if your pronunciation specifically is, let's say, less than 70, okay? If your pronunciation is less than 70, the chances are you're losing a lot of marks in your reading section from your read aloud. So that's a big issue, because what I noticed specifically, a lot of students, when they give their mock tests with us, the first 1 or 2 mock tests, and especially the first 1 or 2 read alouds, they get too nervous and they get too tense. And they mess these up completely. But then when I check the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th and the 6th, they do really, really well. So what does that mean? That means that obviously the student is capable of doing it properly and doing it correctly, but for some reason they're not performing in the exam because they're nervous or you know, any of those issues. That maybe they're a little bit shaky, their voice is trembling, and so on. So that's why it's really important that you guys actually make sure you're getting the maximum amount of marks in your read aloud. And if you've got those nerves, like you go to the exam and you feel like, you know, your voice is kind of like this, and you know, your breath is short and you're kind of shaking and you're not sure, what I always tell students, you don't need to start right away the moment you're in front of the computer, right? They give you some time to start, and what I just suggest, the instructions they give you on the screen before you actually start the speaking section, just read some of those instructions as if it's your read aloud, you know? So, for example, okay, in this test you will have 4 sections. After the 3rd section, which is reading, you can take a break for 10 minutes. After that, you will be completing your 4th section, which is listening, after which you can submit your exam answers. I'm just giving you guys a random example, but just read a few sentences so you can relax, you can get the nerves out of the way, and then once you go to the next question, which is your read aloud, you can perform to the best of your ability, which is going to give you the maximum number of marks towards your reading section. But this is just when it comes to speaking. We're going to cover reading a little bit later on, but back to what I was saying, if you're worried about pronunciation, it doesn't matter that much. It only matters a lot in your read alouds. And if you guys haven't seen, I don't know who keeps calling me over and over. If you haven't seen one of our previous videos, I shared a free website that we recommend to a lot of our students, which is pte.tools, We're not associated with it, but I like it for many reasons, and one of them that whenever you're doing your read aloud, it actually shows you the percentage, the accuracy of your content. So this way you can see if it's pretty good or not. Now, when it comes to the other questions in speaking, let's say describe image, for example, right? Or retell lecture, your pronunciation doesn't matter so much. As long as you're saying the content from the picture or the content from the audio clearly, and you have enough content, your pronunciation over there doesn't matter. So I want to bring this kind of a full circle back, and I want to talk about the main reasons why people are failing their speaking section. So as I said, speaking is very important. Here's what we noticed about a year ago. So we always try to stay up to date. We always try to keep you guys informed. If there's a new question pattern, if there are new questions being added, and usually PTE has different kinds of changes every 6 or so months. So I'll give you guys an example. Of course, the reading section is getting affected from your speaking. A year and a half ago, for example, they changed the order of the questions in the reading section. So in the past, you used to start with multiple choice, and used to do all the other questions, and used to finish with reading and writing FIBs. Okay, so that's one of the things people used to struggle with, because they used to run out of time, and they used to fail the reading section all the time. So a year and a half ago, we're telling everybody the exam pattern is going to change, and one of the first things that they changed is they changed the sequence of the questions in the reading section. Now, about a year ago, again, we're telling students, look, in this particular month, there's going to be a minor change in the exam pattern. Sometimes we don't know what it is, but it could be unpredictable. So before it happens, we advise people, give your exam now while the pattern is still the same, because once they change the pattern, it's going to take us some time to figure out what's different, to give you guys the most updated techniques when you're taking our classes, for example. And one of the things they changed in PT, they changed the speech recognition software. Okay, so this is one of the things they modified. And what they did, they basically used a different software to assess people's speech. Now, this is one of the main reasons why you may have seen in the past, maybe it even happened to you. Let's say if you're giving the exam more than a year ago, you used to get 90, 90, 90 in speaking all the time. But then you didn't change a single thing. You didn't change your template. You didn't change your formats. And now all of a sudden your speaking is dropping to 72, 68, 78, 75, sometimes even 50. Speech recognition. Okay, so if you're in that position, if you're in that situation, just comment below and let me know what's your first language, because that might make a big impact as well. So again, since we announced those changes, we mentioned again, something is going to be different, something is going to change. And what they did, they actually changed the marking in your repeat sentences. And again, we have some of our videos before where we mention and we give you guys tips for repeat sentences, but basically repeat sentences became a lot more strict. Justin, don't touch anything. It's going to get disconnected.
We're worried about the audio.
It's okay. You can check the comments. Sorry guys, technical difficulties again. My phone is going on non-stop. We just want to make sure there's audio. Oh, the voice is too low in the live session. Can you check the mic? Test, test, test. That was right. It was actually one of my students calling me saying my voice was too quiet in the audio. So we're going to fix that one. I have the best students, huh? If I'm getting a lot of missed calls...
How about the comments? Why is not there?
Thank you for that. Can you check on your phone?
My phone died.
Check the other phone. We got that one. If I'm getting a lot of missed phone calls, either something amazing happened, like somebody got 90, or something absolutely terrible happened, like, you know, somebody died, or somebody got fired, or somebody's visa expired. So regardless if there is audio or not, just log into go to our channel. Just search it. Okay, guys, if you ever took my classes, I don't think you've seen me get angry too often. Now, there's one thing that happens whenever I get really angry. I have this vein on my forehead, and it's usually hidden. But whenever I'm dealing with our video guy, Justin, sometimes, and my vein starts bulging like the Hulk, you know, this is how you know I'm angry. So the vein is getting very close to popping.
That's good.
Check the comments.
Sound is good.
Okay, sound is good. Okay, turn up the volume.
That's not good. You're just commenting me a bad thing.
Turn off the volume. So back to what I was saying. If you're failing the speaking section, one of the reasons why, because in the past year they changed their speech recognition software. So how do you overcome this? It depends. But I'll give you guys a few main mistakes of why people are failing their speaking section. Problem number one is not breathing. Not breathing. And that's one of those very subtle things that whenever you guys practice, you say, I'm fluent, I'm talking nonstop, I'm using the same template that got me 90, that got my sister 90, that got my brother 90, but I'm not getting 90. How come? And here's the reason why. So what is oral fluency, right? Oral fluency, I talk. This is your oral fluency, right? So anytime you have a pause or hesitation or extended stop,
Fire this technician guy.
yeah, I think we need to fire him. So anytime you're having these kinds, okay, don't distract me anymore. Anytime you have a lot of these pauses or hesitations, obviously you're losing marks towards your speaking. So a lot of people think this, okay, if I stop breathing altogether, my fluency is gonna go to 90. And actually the opposite happens. Even though they keep talking continuously, their fluency is very low. Now let me explain to you guys the reason why, okay? They have a certain frequency for male voices. They have a certain frequency for female voices. So if we were to analyze your speech and we use different software to do that, here's what happens, okay? Whenever you take a big breath and you start talking, the image in front of me is a bar graph. On the screen I can see X, Y, and Z. The lowest number is this, the highest number is this, and then I can also see the trend is changing, and I can see the lowest number is going up towards this. And then you guys have this massive breath in the middle of the audio sometimes. But here's what happens. Whenever I take a big breath, right, and I start speaking, and you can maybe hear this in the microphone, my sound is strong, right? The image in front of me is a bar graph. On the screen I can see this, and the trend is changing, and overall this is very important, and this picture is very beautiful, blah, 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 blah. So what happens in this situation, whenever you take a big breath, the audio at that big frequency is getting picked up. The audio is really strong, right? Like it's got a lot of power. But whenever you're running out of air, that frequency that they're looking for is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And even though as a human being you can hear the person talking, the computer cannot understand this content. And you take a breath again, it starts to spike again. So the reason I'm saying one of very small things why you might be failing your speaking without realizing it, if you're one of those people that keeps holding in their breath and thinking it's going to give you a better fluency, you're totally mistaken. You should let your breath happen in a very natural way, but you know, it should not be overemphasized, right? So in front of me, I have a bar graph. The title of this bar graph is X, Y, and Z. I can also see the years 2010, 2015, and 2030. I can also see. So watch, every time I'm taking a breath, I'm going to do this, okay? The image in front of me is a bar graph. The title of this bar graph is X, Y, and Z. On the screen, I can see different years, such as 2010, 2015, 2020. On the screen, I can see different factors, such as male, female, and children. So you see, it's just a fraction of a second, right? I'm taking a breath in and then I'm speaking on the exhale. So this is very important. This is number one. Reason number two why a lot of people are failing their speaking section is because of issue when it comes towards their pitch. So what is your pitch? And just today I was dealing with one guy and actually two guys, and they have this issue, okay? So if you are South Indian, if you speak Telugu or Tamil, this is probably very likely, especially the guys, they tend to have a very heavy voice, very deep voice like this. And back to what we're talking about, the different frequencies, there's a certain range for men, there's a certain range for women. So for men it's between 100 to 150, and for women is between like 170 to I think 240, give or take, right? So what happens, let me use a different color marker. Okay, if I speak with my normal noise, the image in front of me is a bar graph. In this bar graph, I can see da 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 da. In this bar graph, I can see da da da. So I'm obviously over exaggerating, but this is what tends to happen. If I speak with my normal voice, it's in this male range. Okay, this is the male range. If I speak like this, I can't do this. This is going to be the female range. So if you're not quite fitting in that particular pitch range that they're looking for, whenever they're comparing your audios, whenever they're comparing your voice to the samples in their system, it's not going to match. And even though your fluency is good,
according to you and you speak continuously, you're actually not going to get a lot of marks, because whatever the content you're saying over here, which is below the range for male, or let's say even as a girl, if your pitch is too high, you will not be getting marked and the system will not be able to recognize this. And I know this is unfair, of course, but you need to know that so you can work around that. So usually girls will have a pitch that's too high, some guys as well, Nepalese boys especially. Whereas other guys, like South Indians, people that speak Telugu or Tamil, sometimes Kannada, sometimes Marathi, they will usually be in the zone which is too low, and because of that, they're not going to be picked up. So how do we fix this? We made a bunch of videos for different tricks for pronunciation. So if you're failing because of your pronunciation, you can watch that for girls specifically. Whereas for guys, if you got one of those like deep, heavy voices, you have to speak in a more uplifting, in a more cheerful way. Okay? So again, if you guys are keen and you want to know more details, either send us a message on Facebook or comment if you speak one of those particular languages, so then I can ask and answer your question in particular. The third reason why people are failing their speaking section, okay? And this is usually because of their own mistakes. And specifically, we recommend using formats for describe, image, and retell lecture. That's the best way for now, okay? If it changes, we will be the first ones to tell you. But mistakes where they usually occur is usually in this question, which is repeat sentences. Okay, repeat sentences. Now, as you guys know, repeat sentences give you mark in your listening, but they also give you marks in your speaking. And where do your speaking marks come from? Your oral fluency. We're not going to worry about the listening for now, okay? But the reason why I'm bringing it up, a lot of people are too worried about the content over here, and they're slowing down the sentence too much to say it word by word. But you need to think about it this way, okay? Let's say this is the recording and this is the waveform of their audio. And let's say the sentence is, I didn't do my assignment because my dog ate my homework, right? I didn't do my assignment because my dog ate my homework. And you, let's say, are taking notes and you go, I didn't do my assignment because my dog ate my homework. So do you see what's the issue in these two audios? What do you guys see that's different in these two audios? Maybe their audio only lasted 4 seconds, right? Whereas your audio lasted 6 to 8 seconds, for example. That's one of the reasons. Or maybe you're one of those people that only got half a sentence and said, I didn't do my assignment. And then you click next. Okay, you got the right idea. But if you click next, what happens, the computer is expecting to hear an audio for this whole duration, but you only spoke for this duration. So it's very obvious for the computer that you're not getting the full sentence correctly, you're not saying it fluently, and you're not matching roughly the length of the audio. Another reason why people oftentimes make mistakes in repeat sentences, they will hesitate. Especially the first sentence always happens where students speak too soon, and they speak before the sentence actually started. So if the recording starts here, they start speaking too early, and the computer only captures the second half of the sentence, but it doesn't capture the first half of the sentence. And again, it's pretty much the same issue like here. Or sometimes what people are having, they're having what they call false starts. So what are false starts is like, I didn't do my assignment because my dog ate my homework. Meaning you are adding extra sounds and then you are pausing in between, and only then you say the sentence. So of course you're adding extra content and you're pausing. This is going to decrease your score. And the final reason what kind of mistakes people make is they slow down too much. And before you guys ask me, I'm not really sure what are the questions here. Echo sound. Just an echo sound.
I don't know why.
Okay.
It was good.
Is it good now? Okay, voice is clear. That's fine. So what happens is people start to slow down too much. And I had one student recently, he was from Pakistan. I'm not going to say his name because he's still preparing for his exam. In the mock test, we have our own scored mock test. You can check the link somewhere down there. He was always getting 90, and usually the score there is pretty close to your real exam. You know, before he was getting 82, 83 in the mock test, but then he was getting 90. And he did a Pearson mock test as well, he was getting 90. and then he goes to the exam and he fails his speaking and he also fails his listening section. Whenever I see this, there are only two possibilities. One is your retail lecture, the other one is your repeat sentences. So I asked him, bhai, what happened, bhai? And he basically says that he got nervous and he started slowing down too much in repeat sentences and in short answer questions as well. Let's say if the question is, what's the first meal of the day? He would say, it is breakfast. And as soon as he told me that, I started laughing because obviously it doesn't make any sense. So you cannot slow down too much. But before you guys ask, what's the ideal speed? This is something that's totally different. And I see like quite a few of our students are actually in the class right now. For example, one of my students, Nat from Thailand, is here. Another student, Hagar, who was just sitting outside half an hour earlier. So you guys can attest to the fact that whenever somebody takes the classes with us, we check like hundreds and hundreds of audios. And if I just open like one random audio, let me just open any student, for example, who sent me a lot of homework. You guys can see. Okay, so this is WhatsApp. This is what WhatsApp looks like. Class notes, audio, feedback, audio, homework, more feedback, more homework. So long story short, in case you're wondering what's the ideal speed, it's going to vary in all the different questions, but on top of that, it's also going to vary from person to person, right? So let's say you're somebody who can speak very clearly, and let's say in read aloud, when you're practicing, you're getting 75 to 80 to 90% accuracy, you can afford to go a little bit faster, right? Let's say I'm doing a read aloud. If I can speak very clearly, I can go, once you've picked a general topic for your paper, you need to come up with a thesis. Your thesis is the minimum. But let's say you don't speak so clearly, you can slow down a little bit, but still maintain your fluency, right? Once you've picked a general topic for your paper, you need to come up with a thesis. So you see in this situation, even though I slow down, I'm still maintaining my fluency and there are no gaps in between. So this is the main reason. Okay, now before I move on to the reading section, can we answer some questions? And our video guy, Justin, is going to read them for me. Now, Justin is already fired. Okay, let's have a look. 9, 10. Okay, guys, any questions when it comes to your speaking? So sound. Do they have sound?
No, it's good.
Okay. Any questions when it comes to your speaking?
Because the video is delayed, 30 seconds.
Okay. So any questions you have, comment right now before we move on to the reading section. Let me just summarize really quickly. Speaking section is the section which is the most important, is the one that gives you the most marks. And I'll give you guys an example. Let's say you go to your exam tomorrow and you only perform in your speaking section. Geez, everybody's talking about my sound. I got another message from another student. How are you? Salam alaikum. You know who you are. Okay, anyways. So let's say you go to the exam, you only do your speaking section. It's going to vary on the number of questions. It's going to vary on a few different things. But let's say you only do speaking, you skip everything else. On average, you're going to get your score report. You're going to have your speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Your writing is going to be 10 if you only do speaking, because speaking doesn't contribute any marks towards your writing. Your speaking, if you do everything correct, is going to be 90 out of 90. Now, listening depends on the number of questions, but you'll be getting between 41 to give or take 45 marks towards your listening. You'll be getting between 31 to 33 marks towards your reading. And again, this is going to come from your repeat sentences, read a lecture, and answer short questions. And this is going to come only from your read aloud. So this is why we emphasize it so much. Now, if you're one of those people that's been passing the speaking section in the past, but nowadays you're failing for some reason, okay, this could be due to the fact that there was a change last year in their speech recognition software. So in their speech recognition software. And what happened is, obviously, whenever they change to different software, there are a lot of glitches, a lot of things they have to work out. Now, one of those things that wasn't really affecting people's score before with the new software, but it's affecting their score nowadays, number one is not breathing and thinking that talking continuously without any breath is going to increase your score. So that's not true. So back to summarize, you should actually let it happen at a natural rate, but you should not overemphasize each and every pause. Just take a breath and keep talking. Take a breath and keep talking. So it's just a fraction of a second. Number two, which we addressed already, is the pitch. So that your voice is either too high or it's too low. Whatever the frequency that you're talking about doesn't match exactly what their system is looking for. And even though as a normal human being, I can understand you, your husband can understand you, your wife can understand you, but the computer cannot understand you, there's nothing wrong with you. It's something wrong with their system. And if that's the case, you can watch one of our other videos where we give people advice on how to change their pitch, if it's too high or it's too low. And typically for girls, for females, it's going to be way too high, so they need to try to speak in a deeper voice. Whereas for guys, for males, it's typically too low, especially if they speak Telugu or Tamil. So they have to speak in a more upbeat, in a more cheerful way. Okay? And the third one is people make their own mistakes. And even though they swear, no, Alex, my exam was so good, it was better than the mock test. Yeah, but how come in the last 5 mock tests you're getting 65 and 70 in your speaking? You're actually making mistakes. And if you're making mistakes, it's usually in specifically repeat sentences. This is where we notice people get stuck too much. Either they panic, or the sentences are too long and they lose their confidence, or there are some, other kinds of issues. But we covered things like false starts, or hesitations, or slowing down too much. Okay, so that pretty much covers what I wanted to discuss in speaking. Does anybody have any specific questions? We have a few people that said they have been following a new speaking technique and it worked for them. They got 90/90. Well done, Lavjit. Very happy to hear that. You had to wear a mask during the exam. Yeah, unfortunately, that's normal, but it won't affect your score. So the only time it affects your score, like for me, I wear glasses when it comes to dealing with computers. So obviously, if you got your mask right and the mask you cannot really breathe, I notice that if I have to wear a mask during the test, my glasses get, even now you can see, my glasses tend to get very foggy. So that's the only issue. But in terms of your score, your pronunciation, it won't affect it. The only advice I guess I can give you if you're one of those people and if your specs get foggy, there are certain types of sprays that you can buy. So you can actually buy a spray. I'm Canadian, so we play hockey. And usually with our helmets, with the visor, when you're breathing and skating really fast, the glass gets fogged up. So there is a spray you can buy, and you put it on and basically make sure that, for like 2-3 hours, you will not have any condensation on your glasses. So that's another possibility that you can think about, but it won't affect your speaking score. If we speak half the sentence and repeat sentences, then are we able to get 19 speaking? Unfortunately not. That's back to what I was saying earlier. If the audio is supposed to be this long, but you only spoke for half and then you went next, the computer knows you didn't speak enough. So repeat sentences especially carry a lot of marks towards your oral fluency. It's the question that gives you probably the most marks for oral fluency out of all the speaking. So you can mess up one describe image, you can mess up one read aloud, one retell lecture, but if you mess up a lot of repeat sentences, it's going to affect your score a lot. Eva Tapa is asking how to maintain fluency with good pronunciation. So like I said, depends on your speed, but fluency is not only about how fast you speak, it's also about the consistency. Can you check the mic? The number disappeared. Can you check the mic? The number disappeared.
No, it's okay.
It's okay? Are you sure? No, look, it's off. Uh-oh. Which one? That one? Okay, is it synced? Yeah. Okay, should be back to normal. I think next time we need to, I don't know what we need to do. We need to do something different next time. We need to hire professionals. Geez. Test, test, test. Okay, we are back. If you're a sound engineer,
Yeah, it's good.
if you're a sound engineer and you're looking for a job, send us a message on Facebook right now. Should we focus on grammar in the speaking section? No, you should not focus on grammar in your speaking section. All right. We got like 2-3 messages, 2-3 phones going on at the same time. All right, should be okay now. No sound, Justin. How much is it delayed?
Well, still delay.
Still delay?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys will get the sound in a second. All right, I've got 80 in January, but last time from a few days ago, I got 72 in speaking. That's why I registered for the online class. Yes, Islam, I look forward to see you on the 31st in our online class. We're starting a new batch at the end of this month, so if you're interested, send us a message. Okay. The new PT mock test format, right from dictation, allows you to write a total of 100 letters. Yeah, so Jerson, that's a good pickup. That's something we haven't really spoken about yet. There's been a very famous video going around YouTube last year, okay? And basically said if you're not sure between different words in right from dictation, if you're not sure between is, was, the, professor, professors, engineer, engineers, you should write both. Don't do that. It worked for about 2 months' time, and then they actually patched it, they fixed it. So now one of the things they did, they put a limit of how many letters you can write. So what some people do, they used to write this: professor, professors, Smith, will, was, be, was, late, later, for, from, today, today's, lecture, lectures. It's the most ridiculous thing. Like, this is not a circus, right? So if you're writing 2 versions or 3 versions of every single word, hoping you'll get something correct, that's not how it works, guys. So in dictation, one of the things that's very important is the sequence as well. And yes, this is why there is, if you're adding too much extra stuff or you're missing words, it's going to affect your score a lot, a lot, a lot. Simran, if your pronunciation is very low, you probably got an issue with the pitch. So since you're Punjabi, probably your pitch is a little bit too high. How can we improve pronunciation? Focus on your read aloud. Yes, Biju, ask any question you have regarding listening. And meantime, I'm going to prepare the next thing which I want to talk about, which is the reading section. Okay, so a lot of you guys, speaking is something we can fix. We have classes, we have different tricks, we have different strategies for that. Now, the reading section, and I'm usually very honest, very upfront, and I'm going to scare you maybe a little bit, unfortunately, but I'll also give you some good news, okay? So, not to diminish anybody, not to put anybody down. I'm not trying to be offensive. I just want to be really upfront, really honest with you guys, okay? 2 years ago, and I think back a lot of our early students, 2-3 years ago, we had a lot of students that don't even deserve to get Band 7 in IELTS. They don't even deserve to get Band 7 in IELTS. They would have to give the exam multiple times just to get Band 7. But when it came to PTE, a lot of them were passing with 79 plus, either in 1 or maybe maximum in 2 or 3 tries. And I'm telling you, these are people that are not necessarily the most intelligent people, and those are definitely people that didn't have a high level of English, like not even average, below average. But what they used to do, they used to cram the templates, because speaking scoring was easy. They used to cram the essay templates, again it was easy. At that time, there were only, I believe, like 230 FIBs in the reading section. They used to memorize them. There were only about 70 reorder paragraphs at that time. They used to memorize them. And there are only about 200 write from dictations. They used to memorize them. So all of these people in 1 or 2 tries were getting 79 plus, but they actually didn't deserve 79 plus. And then obviously the more time goes on, the harder things get, right? Because PT is adding more and more questions, usually every 6 months, 6 to 7 months. So nowadays, I'm looking in the class, I have a lot of people that are very hardworking, very intelligent, and they got a pretty good level of English. And even then, sometimes they don't pass in 1 attempt. Sometimes it might take them 2 to 3 times to get 79, because the mistakes they're making before were not that costly. Like, for example, repeat sentences. Before, we didn't even bother practicing this. Write from dictation, same thing. Before, we're not really practicing. Kill Justin. That's a good one. Don't interrupt me again. So before, like, people could mess up these, they could miss 2 right from dictations completely, they were still able to get 79 or close to 79. Nowadays, a lot of those mistakes are way too costly. Okay, so nowadays, even people that are very intelligent with a very good level of English, they're basically missing this. But again, we got the materials, we try to keep up to date with all the templates and things like that. Now, the one that I've been talking about, and you can watch our video at the start of the year, how to get 19 PT in 2020. And I gave everybody a warning, guys, be ready. This one is going to get really hard. Guys, be ready. You need to start practicing this one. Guys, be ready. Book your exam. It's going to be harder. It's going to be harder. And it's only going to get harder. It's not going to get easier. And this is the reason why. So what I've observed, a lot of you guys, girls, you want to pass an English test, but how come you go home and you speak Punjabi? How come you go home and you speak Thai? How come you go home and you watch Nepali movies? How come you have party and you speak Hindi and Telugu and Tamil with your buddies? I mean, I'm not the one to judge, right? But the issue is you guys are so reliant on your own mother tongue and your own mother language that a lot of you guys nowadays struggle in the reading section, and it's only going to get worse. And we're introducing something new. It's going to be released in about a month time to help you guys out with the reading section. But for now, here's what I'm going to repeat. 30% of your reading will come from your vocabulary. And I tell all my students on day one, I cannot snap my fingers and make your PT scores disappear. So this is something I cannot fix for you. I cannot transfer my brain into your brain. I cannot download the Oxford Dictionary and put it in your brain. I cannot teach you 10,000 English words in a span of 4 weeks or 3 weekends whenever you take classes with us. So this is something that comes from you. The other 30%, this comes from your grammar primarily, and there are a few different tricks. Now, I personally hate teaching grammar. Most students hate learning grammar. Most of my native English friends, they don't even know proper grammar if I give it to them on a piece of paper. But they can talk, but they don't know the names of grammar and all these different rules and conditions. But that's something we can teach in the class. That's something we can fix. There's about 10 to 15 different tricks and shortcuts that will help you actually get the grammatical questions without knowing much grammar. The remaining 40% is going to come from practicing the repeated past exam questions. Repeated exam questions. And back to what I was saying to you guys earlier, in the past for fill in the blanks, for example, there used to be 200 questions. Then they increased them to 350 questions. Then it was doubled again to about 700 questions. And nowadays, if you take the 2 blanks combined, there's about 1,100 questions. And before, I literally had a few students, a few Punjabi girls, if I showed them the first sentence of the question, they could tell me the answers without even looking at the options because they just crammed. And they used to get away with it. This was still manageable. I literally had students print a stack of the strategies. You've done a lot of practice because you know your vocabulary is weak. That's okay as well. Or again, let's say your vocabulary is strong and you practice a lot of repeated questions, but the grammar is still not getting to your head. That's okay. You only need to be good at 2 of these. If this one is 0, you have to overcompensate here and here. If this one is 0, you don't need to practice if these 2 things are good. If your grammar is really weak, again, you can overcompensate. So this is what I'm trying to say. And I'll give you guys an example. What I realized, I had one of my students recently, okay? And her sister took the classes with us. They're 2 Nepali girls. Their sister took the classes with us, and she passed months ago. She passed a long time ago. And her younger sister now, she's taking the classes. Sound again?
It's audible here.
And the younger sister's taking classes with us right now. And anyway, she took an exam once and she missed, is this still on? Yeah. She missed the exam in the reading section specifically. And I'm not going to say her name. Let's say her name is, just make it up. Let's say her name is Sunita, okay? So her older sister calls me and says, Alex, I'm very worried about Sunita. And I said, what happened? Like, everything okay? She goes, yeah, look, I know she failed her reading section, and I had a chat with her, and I was watching how she practices, and what I realized, she doesn't know basic grammar rules. She does a lot of practice. She memorizes questions. She every day.
Play the part.
Huh?
This part.
Which part?
Replay this part.
Why?
Sound gone, and everybody like, if you replay this part. Here.
Is the sound okay now?
Yeah, the sound is okay now.
Let me finish my story and then I'll come back. So anyways, the older sister says, look, I'm really worried about Sunita. She's a hardworking girl. I said, I know. She practices questions from your portal every single day. She goes to the exam. She practices the prediction file. And when she gets a lot of questions repeated, like 7, 8 questions out of 10 repeated, she gets a good score. But if she gets something new, she's totally lost. She doesn't even know the grammar rules. So when she came next time, I had to pull her aside. I got her to sit in our class again and to explain all of these different things. But let me give you guys an example. I'll give you an example. Does it sound okay now?
Yeah.
Do you want the example first, or do you want me to explain the old thing first? Okay. I'll explain the old thing first. 30% is your vocab. Okay. 30% comes from knowledge of grammar and different tricks. Okay. And the remaining 40% is going to come from practicing the repeated exam questions. And what I was saying is that you can be bad at one of these, but not the other 2. So if your vocabulary is really weak and you know that, you have to know the grammar tricks and you have to practice all of the repeated exam questions. If you feel like your vocabulary is pretty good and you do a lot of practice, but you're lacking in grammar, you can still pass. But let's say you're somebody that's got pretty good vocabulary and you understand the grammar tricks and strategies, but in this situation, you will not need to practice as many repeated questions. So that's what I was trying to say. And from my experience, most students that I get, they're more than happy to do this because we provide all the resources in the class, but they're usually weak in one of these 2. Okay? And like I mentioned to you guys, reading is only going to get harder because there's going to be even more questions. And unless you quit your job and you come to practice at the center with me every single day for the next 6 months, and if your English level is not that strong and you're not practicing, you're going to have a hard time passing reading. Let me give you guys one example. Is the sound okay now? Okay. I'll give you some example about some basic grammar. Okay? Let's say the sentence is, I have a something car. Okay? I have a something car. So whenever I was sitting with this girl, fake name Sunita, okay? I go, Sunita, what kind of word do we put here? She says, I don't know. I said, just think of an example. She says, I have a car. I said, yeah, but you're missing a word here. Give me a word here. What kind of word goes here? So after a long story short, we got into it. Now, it took her a while to realize, but she thought of an example. I have a nice car. I have a black car. I have a yellow car. Okay. And I say, what kind of word is the word nice? She had no idea. I was like, oh my God, I know what the problem is. Now the word nice is an adjective. What is an adjective used for? It's used to describe things. What kind of word is car? I don't know. The word car is a noun. What does a noun do? And again, she goes, I don't know. Okay. I said a noun is something you can have. So think of it like an object of some kind. It's some kind of a thing. It's an object or some kind of a thing. Again, I'm oversimplifying this. Don't quote me on my grammar. I'm just trying to make it simple. I said, okay, actually the word we're doing was another word. It was the word controversy. Controversy. Okay? And I said, okay, Sunita, can you say I have a car in my hand? Logically, it's wrong, right? But can you say grammatically, I have a car? Yeah, it's something you can have. It's a thing you can have. Can I say in my life, I have controversy? Again, controversy is not really an object, but it's some kind of a thing that you can have. So again, a noun is something you can have. So I go back to Sunita. Sunita, what kind of words do we usually put before a noun? And if you're watching this, you can comment below. What kind of words do we usually put before a noun? And she didn't know, but now you guys know it's an adjective, right? But she didn't know the names of these. She didn't know any of these things. So what I'm trying to say is when somebody with good grammar knowledge, they look at a new question in reading, even let's say drag and drop fill in the blanks. Even though it looks really confusing, like you got 10 options, somebody that knows these tricks, they know there are only maybe 2 to 3 words out of all of them that actually fit in here grammatically. Out of those 2 or 3 words, one will totally not make sense, and probably you'll be stuck between 2 similar options. And then let's say one is singular, one is plural, one is car, one is cars. Then it's very easy to narrow down to just one option. So a lot of people are lacking that. Okay, now I'll give you guys another example. And this would take me like 3 hours to teach, so I don't think we have time to cover all of them in the video. But let me give you guys another example. Let's say we have a blank nice car. We have a blank adjective noun. Okay, we have a blank adjective noun. And if you're one of my students, I know Nat is here. She's one of our biggest fans. She's watching the video right now. Nat, I know that you know that. Maybe you can comment for everybody. So again, if I see this, I have a blank nice car. Look, I'll be honest with you guys. Sometimes certain tenses, past, perfect, continuous, future, it's very confusing. So I don't want to confuse students with confusing language. But I want to tell them, think of an example in your day-to-day life. I have a something nice car. Justin, I have a something nice car. What kind of word can we put here? Justin's brain turned off right away. He's still traumatized, you know. He's going to be shaking in the shower today. So maybe you can think of some examples. One word could be, I have a very nice car. Oh, I have an extremely nice car. I have a hugely nice car. I have a beautifully nice car. Doesn't matter what the word is. I'm just giving you guys some ridiculous examples. Now, what kind of part of a sentence is the word very? What kind of part of a sentence is the word very? If you know, comment below, but I'm going to give you the answer. This is what we call an adverb. An adverb, right? And how do we know adverbs? They usually end with ly or they usually end with y. Extremely, amazingly, beautifully, surprisingly, all of those words. So again, when you know these tricks, this is like gold. It saves you so much time because the grammatical answers you can figure out within a span of like a minute. The other day, I was teaching the class on reading, and in our portal, there's like nearly 1,000 questions, and I told one of my students, pick any question number between 1 and 600, and they picked like 555, for example. And I said, okay, and it's a lot of pressure, right? We've got a class of like 20 people watching, you know, might be sweating a little bit because I don't want to embarrass myself and get it all wrong, right? And it's a question I made sure I haven't done before. So that question had 6 particular blanks, okay? And with the students, if you're in my class, you can attest to that. I solved about 4 in about 45 seconds to 60 seconds. And all the extra time I saved, an extra minute, minute and a half, the other 2 minutes I spent solving the remaining 2, on which I spent nearly 120 seconds. The reason why, because these were very easy and very obvious grammatically to figure out. So we got the quick ones first, and all the extra time we spent doing the hard ones. So what I'm telling you guys, grammar is very important. Let me bring it back a full circle because we're talking about passing the reading section. Just today alone, and again, our students in the class, they get all these questions, they get all these tricks. They get all these materials, so they know all of these things. The one question they still hate, they say, Alex, like you said, I'm practicing 25 drop-down blanks, 15 drag and drop fill in the blanks every single day. My reading is improving, blah, 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 blah. What the hell do I do about reorder paragraphs? And my online students know this especially. In the class, in person, face-to-face, we spend almost 2 days in the class practicing reorder paragraphs to understand the reorder paragraphs. But we also have students online. They take classes with us on Saturdays, Sundays, usually over the course of 3 weekends. But because those classes are a bit more compressed, we cannot afford to spend 4 hours doing reorder paragraphs. So in total, instead of 4 hours, we spend maybe 1 hour maximum, right? And what I do is I explain to them the strategies. There's lots of techniques. How do you find the first sentence? Okay, now if this first sentence has a proper noun, okay, what's going to be in the second and third sentence? Okay, now how do we find the last sentence? Okay, now whatever is left, you use over here. There's all these different tricks and strategies we teach in the class. But a lot of people either get them or they don't. Reorder paragraphs specifically, it's one of those questions that's very logical. So if you're in IT or engineering, it's easier. If you're nursing or a chef, maybe a little bit harder. So here's what I tell them. Okay, guys, for reorder paragraphs, you just need to be competent. You need to be competent enough to be able to get 2 marks out of 4 or 2 out of 3 or maybe 3 out of 5. You just need to be competent. You just need to be able to find like 2 pairs. For all the other ones, here's what you do. I'm sending you the PDF right now with all the questions, okay? And it also has the answers at the top. And you're going to read them in correct sequence, okay? Meaning I'm going to read it like a story. Why am I going to do that? I'm going to understand it like a story. So when I see the same question again in the exam, I will not remember what sentence number 1, what sentence number 2, what sentence number 3. But I can actually remember it like a story. So I'll give you guys an example. There's one question, and by the way, for reorder paragraphs, at the moment there's about 200 to 220 questions, unique questions. Some have multiple versions. So to go through all of these, I just tell students, look, if you read 20 per day, in 10 days you're done. And then when we give you the prediction file, you just revise this before your class. So this part is really simple. But I'll tell you guys a story, okay? I like to eat chicken. So what's the first thing I do? I take the chicken. Take the chicken. Or I buy the chicken. Okay? I take the chicken or I buy the chicken breast. Let's make it a chicken breast. Lots of protein, right? Then what do you do with the chicken? Do you cook the chicken right away? If you're cooking the chicken right away, do you think your husband's going to enjoy it? Or you're going to enjoy it? No, it's not that delicious. Why? There's too much fat on it maybe, or you know, it's plain, it's bland, it doesn't have a taste. So Justin, when we cook chicken, what do we do with chicken? Do you eat the chicken right away? If you just fry the chicken breast, it's going to taste good? What's missing? If you have a piece of chicken, you like chicken. If I give you the chicken right away, you're going to eat it like this?
Cooked.
Yeah, but before you cook, what do you do with it?
Take.
Yeah? And then?
Buy. What?
When you buy chicken out of Porto, what does it taste like?
I don't know, bro.
So what I'm trying to say is, we trim the fat. Do you like chicken with lots of fat? Okay. Then what do? We add maybe some spices. What else do we do? We add maybe salt. We add pepper, right? Can we eat the raw chicken with the salt and pepper? Justin, do you eat raw chicken with salt and pepper?
No.
No, what do you do with it? We cook the chicken. Boom. We cook the chicken, we put it in the oven, right? And then once I put it in the oven and I cook the chicken and everybody enjoys it, I tell everybody that's my granny's recipe for the last 50 years, for the last 3 generations. So the reason I'm saying this, like a story, we take the chicken, we trim the fat, we add salt and pepper, then we leave it to cook, and then we tell everybody about the recipe once they enjoy it. Now, this corresponds with the question in the reading section where you take an underperforming company, okay? You trim all the fat, you add debt, you trim the management incentives, Then you leave it to cook for 200 years, and then that has been the recipe of private equity firms for the past 3 generations, whatever it was. So what I'm telling you guys, I'm drawing a parallel between a real life story and the question in the exam. So this is why I try to get my students to understand it. If you try to manually solve more than 200 reorder paragraphs, your brain is going to fall off. It's going to hurt. If I do more than 10 reorder paragraphs, my brain hurts. So instead, you need to practice enough to be competent to be able to get half marks, but the rest of them you're just going to read and understand, all of them, in the correct sequence. Because when you see it again, it's easy. And like we promised you guys, those watching this video, will give you a prediction file for this month till the end of October. So make sure I will explain at the end the steps to do it. How long have we been going on for?
40 minutes.
Are they tired of listening to me yet?
No.
Okay, let's take some questions quickly. We'll see. You eat the chicken, you put the spices. Good, very good. Okay, I like this. Somebody ask you about your camera? Who cares? Who cares? I send you a link to buy a new mic. Thank you for that. That's for Justin. Okay. Can I recommend something to practice to boost your skills in order to save time and be prepared till the online course begins? Yes, Islam. So I think if you're an online student, you should have access to the portal. I would highly recommend you start practicing the fill in the blanks, both types. And I highly recommend you start practicing 50 write from dictations per day. Yeah, and what Islam is talking about, we're starting a new batch for online classes. What month we are? October? October 31st, so it's Saturday, Sunday. It's 3 weekends. I'll write it down afterwards. But anyway, so if you're in that class, you can start practicing the questions in the portal already. Just make sure you don't do any mock tests yet. You should do the mock test when you finish the classes. But yeah, starting this Saturday and Sunday, the 31st and the 1st of October and November, we're starting a new batch of online classes. So it's going to be 3 weekends, okay, from 3 to 6 p.m. Sydney time. And if you guys want to join with Islam and with me, I personally teach all those classes. 61423058115. You can send this guy a message any time of the day. Call him right now. He's asleep. On WhatsApp. And anyways, you can see if there are any spots. Yeah. Questions. Just skip forward. We're sitting there. Where's the prediction file? Yeah, so prediction file, I'll explain to you guys right now. If you're watching this, good. What you have to do, should we get them to put in their emails or should we share the link through Google Drive? What's easier? Yeah, guys, so the best thing to do is the same gentleman that looks after the online classes, 0061-423-058-115. Okay, if you drop in your email in the comments of this video, I'll save some time at the end. We will be sending it to you tomorrow morning, okay, Sydney time. So let me try to bring this full circle. So I mentioned people struggle in the speaking section, people struggle in the reading section. How do you overcome those two things? As I mentioned to you guys already, I should have wrote this somewhere else. For the speaking section, if you're one of those people that used to get a high score but now it dropped, or you keep failing, you don't know what's wrong, the best thing I suggest is just to send us a message on Facebook and maybe send us an audio with a sample. Again, speaking is something that's very specific. I know a lot of you guys practice on 𝐴𝐵UNI. It's a good site. I got nothing bad to say on it, about it. But whenever people practice 𝐴𝐵UNI, their scoring is very different from the real exam, for example. Okay? When you practice on PT tools, it's a great resource. And if you watch the video that I mentioned how to use it, you should only use it for one purpose, to check your accuracy. But a lot of people see on PT tools they're getting 83% and they think that's what they're going to get in the exam. But this only checks your content. It doesn't check your fluency. So again, the best thing we found for this is obviously our mock tests measure that. But if you guys want to practice, it's very important you get human feedback. Because human being can give you feedback in the way the computer cannot. And oftentimes you can find things which you're probably doing wrong without realizing. So for speaking section, make sure your repeat sentences are really good. make sure you're taking breath in a natural way, okay? And if you're still failing, just make sure your pitch is not an issue, that it's not too high or too low. So if you handle those three things, okay, and if you need help, just send us a message. We'll look after you. But those are the things that you can fix. Now, let's summarize with the reading section. What the hell do we do with the reading section? For the reading section, again, you need to have some basic vocabulary knowledge, but I cannot help you with that, guys. I cannot give you every single word that comes in the exam. That's too unpredictable. Number two, you can work on your grammar, and that's something that can be taught. That's something that's very simple, that it's easy to understand. And number three is your practice. So to our students, we give them almost 1,000 FIBs. A lot of these come repeated in the exam, but you need to do the work. So remember, you need to be good at 2 of these, but not the third one. If you're good at all 3, more power to you. And the one question that everybody hates is reorder paragraphs. Like I said, you need to be competent enough to be able to get 2 pairs, but for the remaining, you just need to read all of them and understand them like a story. So when you see the same story again in your exam, you will not remember the specific words, but you'll remember how does it go, what's the logic there. And again, these you can still practice because they're frequently repeated and the question bank is limited. In a year from now, when the reorder paragraphs go from 200 to 500, forget about it. Forget about it. There's no way you're going to be able to cram them and memorize them. Okay? Let's take any last questions that anybody here might have. And then based on that, we are going to stop there because I think I made you suffer through Justin's audio issues long enough. Okay? Let's have a look. In terms of marking, reading and writing fill in the blanks and reading fill in the blanks are high. Reorder paragraph is moderate. You are correct. And if you're asking how many you should be getting correct, did we post that video about reading? Yeah, we did. Oh. Just watch 2 videos ago in our timeline somewhere, and in the picture it says pass reading. Okay, so we gave some kind of an idea how well you should do to get 79 in the reading section. So watch that video. I explained it in more detail. So I think that's going to help you out quite a bit. Thank you, Nat. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next mock test. Reorder paragraphs. Describe image tells. I'm not sure what that means. How to be better at FIBs. I already had a segment just on that. If you guys want another live session with all the reading tricks, that's going to be like a 3-hour class. So that's something we teach in the class because it takes very long. Can we get a free course? Sorry, cannot do that. The big boss won't let us. And yeah, guys, like I said, if you join this video, just drop in your email, and tomorrow morning, one of my colleagues will send you the prediction file, which we give normally to our students. So if you're giving an exam in the next 2 weeks, but before the end of October, that's going to help you out a lot. Okay. Any other questions? How to solve spelling problems? That's a good question. It's not really related to what I was talking about, but that's a good question. So spelling problems, spelling, I'm not going to write. Spelling matters in a few places. Spelling matters in your writing section, obviously, but the technique we teach for summarized written text, you don't need to worry about spelling. Spelling matters in your essay. Okay, now how do you fix that? The template that we give you, you memorize, but the content that you add into it has to be very simple, easy to understand words. Again, we explain that later on in the class. Number 3 is your summarized spoken text. Spelling matters there. But summarized spoken texts are pretty much always repeated. And usually to our students, we give them the content of all the summaries. There's almost 110 of them with all the words highlighted, all the difficult spelling, all the difficult names. Again, that's fixable. So there are only 2 questions where spelling is unpredictable. Number 1, listening, fill in the blanks. Number 2, you write from dictation. Write from dictation always, always, always comes repeated from the material. So back to what I was saying earlier, if you're practicing 50 dictations per day, that shouldn't be a problem. Listening, fill in the blanks is the only one. And again, to our students, we provide a list with roughly 200 words, but there's also a few grammatical things you need to know how to check it. So if you feel like your spelling is bad, memorize an essay template and use simple words when you're adding in your own content. For summarized spoken text, you can practice past repeated questions. Dictation always comes repeated. So just listening, fill in the blanks is the only question where spelling is a little bit unpredictable. Let's put it that way. Okay. Let's see. Thank you guys for your time. Islam, we love you as well. And like I said, drop in your email and we'll send you the... Oh, you're getting 29 in speaking. Okay, Sandeep, send us a message. Share on Instagram. Okay, so I think that's it for tonight. I think that was long enough of torture. Guys, again, thank you so much for watching. This was kind of planned last minute. We just decided that lately we've been getting so many messages in our inbox from students, and we've been very busy with online classes. We mostly do online classes now. So we haven't had a chance to reply to a lot of you guys, and we just send you the link to this YouTube video. So I wanted to give you some value for following, and we'll send you the prediction file. Any other questions, let us know. If this was somewhat helpful, if you wanted to be better organized with better sound next time, just leave us a comment that this was helpful and we'll make it probably a regular thing. And if you are interested in online classes with me personally, over the weekends, on Saturdays, Sundays, when you don't have any work, it's 3 weekends, just send us a message on WhatsApp on this number, and one of our senior team members will get back to you and let you know if there are any spots available for this month. If not, there might be some available for next month. So guys, this is it. Namaste, goodbye, have a good night. And Justin, you can stop the video right now. See ya. How does the queen wave? You know, they have to do it in a certain way. They cannot do like this.
Hey, you will not believe what we are bringing back. We've only ever done this once ever before. We are bringing back our PTE half-day crash course. If you don't want to sit in class, if you don't want to waste weeks and weeks and weeks, but you're really close to your score, it's going to be a half-day course, 4 hours in total, with me and some of our other best teachers. Number one, you're going to get a complimentary mock test, which we usually charge $19 for. Number two, you'll get access to...
Jeez. That was a disaster.
That was a mess. Really? Yeah. Bro, I'm getting phone calls from students saying there's no sound. People are messaging there's no sound. What the hell happened to the sound?